What's going on, FreeMMOStation? I'm Skyldeberg, and today we're doing an editorial rant-style video talking about why Guild Wars 2 went free-to-play and other games that have gone free-to-play recently. You know, there's been a little bit of a trend, of games dropping subscriptions or their buy-to-play model and going straight to free-to-play. So yes, we are going to be spotlighting Guild Wars 2 here, because I have a lot of experience with that, and that's the most recent case. So why? Why Guild Wars 2? Why did it go free-to-play? Because Guild Wars has been championing the buy-to-play payment model. It's a good payment model, even though MMOs are very persistent games. So you need to have a payment or monetization scheme that allows players to consistently play and pay, so that they are supporting the servers, both, you know, actually on the servers and playing and using them, as well as actually financially, you know, purchasing items over, like, you know, periods of time. So you can have that, or you can have subscriptions. So you have a set amount of money that every player is paying every month, and that way the servers can stay updated, that way the game can constantly be updated, and that's what you need in those kind of MMO spaces. So Guild Wars was a little bit different. Instead of sort of like half-assing some expansions or giving minute, small upgrades over periods of months, they decided to go an expansion route. So this is in detail with the Guild Wars, the original Guild Wars, by the way, guys. So the original Guild Wars wanted to compete with World of Warcraft, basically. They wanted to have mechanically a different game, which they did. It was a mechanically different game, but the payment model also had to match that. So they had boxes. You had the original game, which had a really in-depth story campaign, which World of Warcraft did absolutely miss. However, the Guild Wars kind of felt more along the lines of like an online action RPG with some MMO elements, which is really cool. But instead of having monthly expansions and stuff like that, they went for full boxed expansions, which means like entire campaigns and such with these expansions. Yes, they cost a box price, upwards to like $50 maybe, but that's just how it is. So Guild Wars 2 originally had this idea that it wasn't actually going to do expansions. So they were originally just going to have the single box, and then from there they were going to have a cash shop to kind of supplement the subscription fee. So it was kind of a pseudo free-to-play already. You know, from the very beginning, Guild Wars 2 actually was somewhat free-to-play. You just had to buy the box to get into the game. And you had a ton of content, you know, for that single box. For even, like, if you paid $60, or even for any of the special edition stuff, $70, $80, I don't even know. The game was worth, absolutely. Even if you didn't play with friends, it was still a good single-player campaign experience. It still had a lot to offer, especially with competitive multiplayer. Absolutely worth it. But now, why did they take that payment model, which was working? Why go free-to-play? Well, that's because they changed their mind. They actually still wanted to do big, giant expansions, because, see, Guild Wars 2, very unique for an MMO. They had this thing called living story updates. So more than any other MMO ever, aside from World of Warcraft with some of its huge expansions, which cost money, the world actually changed. You know, entire cities, like Lion's Arch, would be destroyed, wiped out. There would be seasonal events that would never be recurring. Well, they're not technically, they're living story events. So, like, every month, there was supposed to be some unique event, or every other month. And you would experience this event, and you would never have that same experience again, even if it came back the next year, like the Halloween update. The exact events that happened during the whole event were totally different. You didn't have the same jumping puzzles, you didn't have some of the same little gimmicks, I guess you could say, or rewards. So yeah, every single event was very different. And then through, like, cash shop items, you could purchase some of the stuff that you missed out on, maybe, later on. So yeah, they had a cash shop. It wasn't pay to win. It was all basically cosmetic. Yeah, it was all cosmetics, essentially. So this was really good, but they wanted to make more meatier content. You know, the player base didn't want these temporary little events. They wanted huge, giant expansions. And Guild Wars 2 did have some expansions. It had some. There was like one extra dungeon path update. There was a couple of jumping puzzles, I think, added in. There really wasn't too much. So they wanted to truly expand, and of course they're going to go back to their original Guild Wars mindset, and they're going to start doing big, well, they're going to do this big expansion. They have not said yet if they're going to do further expansions. Of course, I imagine that they're going to do this one big expansion, they're going to implement raids and endgame and all that, and then they're going to start tailoring the seasonal events and the living story around that as well. So it's going to be a really great model to be free to play, but then also still have boxed expansions. I think that's a payment model model that should be explored more often. I truly do believe so. RuneScape is kind of the opposite, and yet at the same time the same as that, okay? So the original RuneScape, you had almost like a demo. You could play like 14 quests or whatever, and you couldn't go to all the areas, you couldn't unlock all the skills. So basically it was like a demo. You had a demo of an MMO, and then you had to pay money and subscribe to actually get the rest of the content. That's not good. That's no good at all. What would be better is if you had most of the content unlocked for free, and then yes, some of it could, like, you know, some of the end game, some of the harder dungeons, much later on down the road, like the end game, could be truly expanded content, right? It can't be base game content. Some games do that. You can't have that. Like, what is it? The Lego minifigures game did that, where there's like at the base game, and then you couldn't access the rest of the base game. That's not good. People don't like that. If you launch a game and then you truly do expand upon it, I think it's okay to charge for that. So, Guild Wars 2 is moving free-to-play because they already have a cash shop in place. They already have like a system of updates that is sort of like fueled by that monetization as well, you know, the living story updates. But they also want to do huge, giant, expanded content. So Guild Wars 2, what they did was they took all these different monetization schemes from all these different games, and they put it into Guild Wars 2 minus a subscription fee. And they also added in their own unique twist, which is that if you are a paying player, like if you have spent money on the game, you have the ability to actually change in-game currency into the real-life currency. Well, you can't turn it into money, but you can turn it into gems, which then you can use to buy very rare, awesome cosmetics and stuff like that, guys. So Guild Wars 2, overall, I think they said they were championing the buy-to-play payment model, and truly, I think they have always been championing like the free-to-play payment model. It's just, to be fair, you have to pay the boxed version. You have to pay what you are getting, because you're getting some really freaking good content. To me, it's always felt free-to-play. Like, it's always been just more than fair. Absolutely. So now that they have taken away that barrier of entry, which is absolutely huge, I think they're going to start making more money, and they're going to be able to make more content, because Guild Wars 2 knows it's a good game. They know it, and they want people to try out the game, play their PvP, which they're huge on. Yes, guys, Guild Wars 2 is an esport. Like, they focus very heavily on the competitive side, which you can actually have a fair chance at if you are a free-to-play player, because everything is balanced, and you can play all classes aside from the expanded class, okay? So everything is fair, open to free-to-play players. It's all good and dandy. The only thing you can't do is going to be the expanded content, which, because similar to Guild Wars 1, it's kind of campaignish. They are adding raids, you know, so because it is true, you know, content, you do have to pay for that really freaking amazing content. But that's really fair, okay? Now, it's kind of hard to say fair and stuff in free-to-play. Like, when people look for free-to-play games, they expect not to pay any money at all. You know, basically, the better the game equals how little money you have to spend to actually, or how little time you have to spend to actually unlock everything. But that's not quite how it works here with MMOs, because they need to stay persistent. And if you want that really good content, just like any other AAA game, you do have to spend money to actually fuel that content. So that is how this game works. And so what we are seeing is games that have a really awesome amount of content early on. Like, okay, Elder Scrolls Online is basically, it's an Elder Scrolls game, and it feels really good to play solo, to roam around, and there's a huge amount of content easily accessible from level 1. Like, it's hugely digestible. There's almost no grind to actually get into the real game. You are playing the game, the story, the voice acting, all that content you are getting immediately, so it makes sense that you would have to spend some money on it. However, I feel that if Elder Scrolls Online ever had a true giant expansion, then I think the base game would go free, and then the expansion would cost money. And I think more games are going to adopt this system, and we are seeing games, you know, they're dropping subscription fees, or they're kind of like, the subscription fee is a supplement. So, like, it's an option to subscribe. You know, if you really don't want to grind, or maybe you want to catch up to your friends or something real quick, you can subscribe for a month or two, and that's just like an option. It's not necessary, and I think that's what's really good about these games. They need to give us options, and that's what's really awesome about free-to-play games, right, guys? We don't mind spending money on really good free-to-play games. I think all of us can admit to that. You know, if a game is good, and they have really good stuff in the cash shop, like really freaking awesome skins, like in League of Legends, with all the shinies and everything like that, we'll spend some money to support the game that we love, you know, keep the servers running, keep the player base high. We'll support money. But the problem is when games don't give us options, right? Like World of Warcraft. Not only do you have to buy the boxed versions for the expansions, before you had to buy all the box, you had to buy a base account, and then you had to buy all the expansions. It's a little bit different now. I believe the base account is like, you can get the base game for free, sort of, kind of. A little bit of a demo thing going on there. But then you gotta get the expansions, and then you gotta subscribe. I know you get some months free when you buy the expansions, but that's not the same. You still have to have an account and subscribe, and that's not good. There's not enough options. And then they have the audacity to still have a cash shop. Holy crap. Anyways, so it's really good games like Guild Wars 2, and in the future, like WildStar especially, you know, that's going free to play, and they have a myriad of ways to pay for the game, which is really freaking awesome. More games are going to be doing this, guys, because more options to pay means more people are willing to pay. You know, I'm not willing to pay a subscription. Not at all. I don't know if I'm going to be consistently playing that game because I'm playing all these other games. So it's really good to say like a game like Guild Wars 2 where I can jump on, jump off. I don't have any of that stress. Like, oh, I got to pay. I got to get my $15 worth. Nah. And if I'm playing a lot and I'm really enjoying the game that month, I'll probably spend some money in the gem shop. I just recently bought the bass guitar, which I think is freaking awesome because that actually gives me something to do. Like, I actually can write music and play music, and everyone around me can hear that. That is freaking awesome. When cash shops, you know, I'm not even going to go into a huge conversation about cash shops, but what I do want to say is that I think that cash shops themselves are going to become a little bit more smarter. You know, we're going to have more options of items to buy. You know, different kinds of skins in themselves. We'll have like mundane, usual skins, silly skins, glowy skins, skins for different weapons, different armors, and then of course we're going to have like different ways to expedite things. Okay, I like how Guild Wars 2 does it. There are items that don't break, so if your axes break in the game, and one way to expedite, so sort of like the grind would be to have an axe that doesn't break. You know, it's not pay to win, it just kind of skips a little bit of the initial grind that free-to-play players would have. And then of course, you know, you have experience boosters, stuff like that. I guess a lot of people don't have problems with that as long as you're not like insta-buying accounts and stuff like that, like World of Warcraft allows you to do. So I don't know, it's a little bit questionable, but basically I feel like everyone thinks that pay to win is not a thing, okay, as long as there is no item in the game that gives you a direct bonus instantaneously. Some people think pay to win means that if they can get any sort of bonus whatsoever from money, no matter if you can potentially buy that item for free, you know? So I guess that would be kind of like PlanetSide. Like, yeah, I can spend money and get a weapon, and then I can shoot somebody with that weapon who's a free-to-play player, and I do have an advantage over that player because I spent money to upgrade that item. But then again, that free-to-play player in like a couple hours might be able to grind up to get that weapon and upgrade it and everything themselves. So some people consider that pay to win, some people don't. We're not talking about that. Basically, I'm just saying, guys, that in the future, we are going to get better, smarter, more varied cash shops. Then, entwined with those cash shops, we're going to have different and unique varying ways on how to pay for that. And we see that mainly with Guild Wars 2 and mainly with WildStar, because those two games really are one started as a subscription and boxed game, and the other started as a boxed game, and they both are kind of actually blending in, and they almost have like a very similar kind of payment model now. So I think later on we're going to see more things kind of similar to Guild Wars 2. So what am I saying? I'm saying that Guild Wars 2 is a really good example of a free-to-play game. Yes, it does have a boxed expansion version, and it used to be a boxed expansion, but it didn't go free-to-play because it was dying. It went free-to-play because it's growing so much, and they want it to continue to grow at exponential rates. They want that huge exponential growth, mainly probably to, well, show off their awesome freaking content, which is amazing. It's really good content, and also to kind of foster a community, which is going to allow the game to stay up longer, and, you know, that whole esports thing. They really want to get that going, too. So, yeah, what other games do we expect to go free-to-play in the future? Actually, World of Warcraft. They will eventually probably release everything, all the expansions for free. They'll give you a free account and everything, but there might be a plethora of cash shop items. Maybe, maybe not. They'll probably do what Guild Wars 2 is actually doing. They'll have some cash shop items, mainly cosmetic, but then they will have a gear treadmill, and then at the very end of that, which is basically the whole game for people who are hardcore World of Warcraft players, is the expanded content. You want to get that expansion content so that you can get the gear that shows off that you are freaking awesome, and that's going to happen with Guild Wars 2, and WildStar might do something similar. We haven't seen an expansion with WildStar, but basically I imagine that more of these games, maybe Elder Scrolls Online probably, more of these games that need consistent update, but at the same time have these very large, huge amounts of content that needs to be delivered, but it's unfair to give it it really is unfair to give it for free. So how do you actually provide players with the proper service and product if you're trying to give it away for free, but at this, or like inversely, like World of Warcraft? That's why so many people are dropping subs. Is like, you have all this old content, it used to be really awesome, but it's no longer worth sustaining, you know, spending all this money and, you know, subscribing for basically rehashed content. We need true upgraded content, absolutely. So, yeah, there's definitely going to be multitudes of different monetization values, and hopefully, you know, we can find some really interesting ones to, you know, in these indie games. Indie games are really good at coming up with monetization schemes, like League of Legends, which I don't know if you can even consider that indie anymore, but the idea of a free-to-play game that's an esport, and everything is completely competitive, and then, you know, they sell skins. Of course, Valve took from that and made it even better. No, you don't have to buy characters, you don't have to buy any of the runes or anything, or boosters or anything like that. No, everybody's balanced, and instead we'll supplement that with our Valve marketplace, which also supplements even their buy-to-play games. So having all these multitudes of different monetization schemes is the future. I'm not saying free-to-play is the future, I'm just saying having options is the future. Maybe like we're gonna have games that are, they're sub-games, they're buy-to-play games, and they're free-to-play games, but that's all the same game, like Evolve. Maybe Evolve eventually will go like, you can subscribe and you'll instantaneously get everything from the cash shop as soon as it comes out, or you can buy it individually, or you can buy a boxed version and you get everything for free. That's kind of like Smite, almost. So yeah, in the future, we're going to get more stuff like that. So don't think that just because a game went free to play, it's because it's dying. You know, maybe that it was like that in the past. It wasn't doing as well. We saw that with Star Wars, with Terra. But whenever those games switch, they actually do better if it's done right, like Terra, unlike Star Wars. So yeah, if monetization, give us options, the game will flourish. So just because Guild Wars 2 went free to play, just because, well, WildStar went free to play because it wasn't doing that well because it was a sub game plus a box game, but Guild Wars 2 is in a good spot, and now it's going to be in even better position, and it's just going to keep going uphill from here. It's going to be freaking awesome, guys. So likely with all these other games, like WildStar, I think it's only going to go up from here. It's a good game. It was just too much money with not enough updates, not enough content to be worth that subscription. But with a free-to-play model, we're going to get the appropriate amount of content for it being a free-to-play game. It's going to make it worthwhile. So that's my rant, my editorial, my opinion on Guild Wars 2, why it went free-to-play. Because it's an awesome game, actually. It went free-to-play because it's a good game. They want more people to play it, and it's going to be a better game because of it. More games are going to follow suit. That's my opinion. Tell me your opinion in the comments below, and thanks for watching. I'm Skyldeberg with FreeMMOStation, and like and subscribe if you want to see more editorials like this talking about our free-to-play MMO community. Again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again tomorrow.